All right, leaving Black Sand Beach. You hear all those birds?
Yes.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed chilling out at Punaluu. Our tour continues on down the road.
On down the road, bro. Look at the way these buildings are.
They're so cute. It's very like Norwegian meets Hawaiian.
Yeah, it has like... It's
Polynesian.
Yeah. Wayfarers.
We were voyagers.
Yeah. We were too.
Those are fun. Those are little vacation rentals.
Look at this little mongoose.
Hello.
Get out of the road.
Ah, those things are cute.
Cutest fucking infestation ever. Look at them duck crossing signs. Okay.
Look at their doggo. Straight chillin'.
This dead tree covered in vines.
That's awesome.
Rad. Good contribution.
This leg of our tour will take you from the Punaluu Black Sand Beach to Pahala,
This is
an
considered
old
a
sugar
starting
mill
point.
town that was left behind when the sugar plantation closed up, about 20 years ago or so. Then it's pretty much a straight drive out to Volcanoes National Park. As you watch out the window, the land you'll see gradually transition from the Ka'u Desert, where we are now, to the wet, stark lava plains of Volcano. Sometimes we tend to complain about these long drives, but hey, just imagine what it must have been like for the ancient Hawaiians who had no choice but to walk wherever they needed to go. Especially on the jagged lava rocks found here, huh? Pretty humbling. We're coming up on the small town of Pahala. It's an old sugar town with only about 1,400 people still living here today. Now, for more than a century, Pahala had a sugar refinery, a manager's house, a general store, and what they called camps, where workers lived in small houses with their families on the edges of the sugarcane fields. In the 1990s, it was clear that sugar was just too expensive to produce in Hawaii. Steve Brewer, the owner of the plantation, announced that they could only keep the sugar mill open if everybody took a big pay cut. Most people there were just making minimum wage already, so the workers voted no, and the plantation shut down in April of 1996. With no jobs, people began to drift away. The Pahala community tried hard to attract another big employer to replace the plantation. Now, one out-of-this-world idea was actually to build a rocket launch pad in Ka'u, which would be used to send satellites and smaller rockets into space.
It's like cows sitting underneath.
Sounds crazy, doesn't it?
That's awesome.
Well, apparently the Pahala community thought it was too. So they said no to the idea. Believe it or not, that space launch idea didn't die completely. There's a state legislator today who recently introduced a bill to build a satellite launch pad in Ka'u. He said that Hawaii's location near the equator makes it a cost-effective place to launch payloads into orbit. just going to have to wait and see if the Pahala community has changed their minds. A few families started farming coffee in the hills above Pahala after the plantation closed in the 1990s. They quietly persevered and began producing amazing coffee crops. Now, 500 acres are planted with coffee trees above Pahala. In the early years, they sold their beans to the Kona coffee producers, but Ka'u coffee is now featured in the Starbucks Reserve program. Some of the finest roasters and coffee shops around the world now have Ka'u coffee on their cupping tables. Agriculture is once again at the heart of the Pahala community. Now, once a year, they host the Ka'u Coffee Festival, the Miss Ka'u Coffee Beauty Pageant, and the Ka'u Coffee Trail Run. Up ahead, you can turn into Pahala and check out the Ka'u Coffee Mill and get some free samples of this delicious coffee and macadamia nuts as well at their gift shop.
Sick of coffee.
They also offer free tours at 10 a.m., 12 noon, and 2 p.m. daily. The tours last about 30 minutes.
Just missed it.
As we're getting closer to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, we're nearing the home of Pele, the goddess of fire, lightning, and volcanoes. Hawaiians believe that Hawaii's volcanoes are all Pele's handiwork. Since we'll be in Pele's domain today, let me tell you a little more about this goddess who is both to be feared and admired. According to ancient legends, Pele descended from the great spirits of Hikapoloa. She came from a family where each sibling had a role to play in the shaping of the earth. Her many brothers were each named after a destructive force in nature: thunder, explosions, rain of fire, and lava fountains. So you can see where Pele gets her fiery temperament. It kind of runs in the family. Pele is often described as a very beautiful woman when she takes a human form. But she also has the ability to take on other forms, such as fire, lava. In Hawaiian legends, Pele is both flirtatious and jealous. So with her hot temper, believe me, you do not want to get on her bad side.
No, it is. I'm saying we can turn off for a while.
It is believed that Pele's power to control volcanoes is what created the islands of Hawaii. As the story goes, Pele's older sister, Namaka, was angry with Pele because she had seduced her husband. Because of this, Pele was driven from her home on Kauai and chased by her older sister. Every time Pele plunged her digging stick into the earth to begin building a new home, her sister Namaka, the goddess of the ocean, would flood the pits. This is how the islands of Oahu and Maui were formed, with each attempt being stopped by Namaka. Pele eventually landed on Hawaii Island, or the Big Island, where she made Mauna Loa her new home. and Mauna Loa was so tall that even the goddess of the ocean could not send waves high enough to quench Pele's fires. So here on the Big Island, Pele finally made her home, and here she is believed to still reside to this day. Whether you believe or not, please remember this fire goddess, Madame Pele, as we're going to be talking about her throughout your tour today. Soon you'll come to find out that Madame Pele is still very much alive and actively changing the landscape of the island.
We did perfect timing on that drive. We're about to hit the next one.
But he could go around you if he wants.
I know, that's why I didn't know over, and it made it so that we moved at the right
That was
pace.
literally like
Perfect.
Scientists, however, have quite a different take on how the Hawaiian Islands came to be. They believe that the islands were formed from a hot spot deep underneath the Earth's crust. Now, what is a hot spot? Good guess, but no, it isn't where you can find an internet connection. Now, a hot spot is like a hole in the Earth's crust.
It's funny, man.
You see, the Earth's molten core is so hot, the temperature is said to reach that of the surface of the sun itself. At such a high temperature, even rocks and metal melt, forming magma. When this magma spews out onto the Earth's surface through a hot spot, land and mountains are formed. However, while hotspots don't move, the Earth's crust does move, by about as much distance as your fingernails grow every year. Over millions of years, as the crust moves away from Hawaii's hotspot, new islands are created from the bottom of the ocean. You can think of it as kind of like the Earth's own factory conveyor belt, forming new islands every few million years. Eventually, a chain of hundreds of islands, atolls, and seamounts that span over 1,800 miles, that's 3,500 kilometers, was created. The Big Island of Hawaii is the youngest of these islands, and by far the largest.
Just reset the cruise control.
Here on the Big Island, there are 5 volcanoes. Their names are Mauna Kea, Mauna Loa, Hualalai, Kohala, and Kilauea. Some of you may be wondering, so just how active are these volcanoes? Great question. Let me give you a summary of the Big Island's fiery history.
So pretty much you're crazy for being here.
The earliest documented eruption was at the Hualalai volcano in 1801, located just above the current Kona airport. It is reported that during the eruption, King Kamehameha threw a lock of his hair into the lava, stopping it cold in its tracks. And it's estimated that Hualalai erupts about every 200 years. So if you do the math, 1801 to today, well, this volcano is overdue for an eruption. Not that you should worry, but, well, you may want to call the airport before your return flight, just to make sure it's still there. Another volcano on the Big Island, Mauna Loa, is one of the largest volcanoes in the world. It has erupted some 33 times since recorded history began, with the most recent eruption in 1984. On average, that is one eruption every 6 years. Again, Mauna Loa is also long overdue for an eruption. So, knock on wood, and let's just hope it doesn't happen while we're around, okay?
Enjoy your drive.
But the winner of the most active volcano award definitely goes to the Kilauea volcano. Located in the Hawaii Volcano National Park, and it's the volcano of our tour today. Erupting roughly once every 4 years, Kilauea is a young and active volcano. But it doesn't have that iconic and prominent cone shape that comes to mind when most people think of a volcano. Rather, Kilauea looks rather broad and flat, with a summit crater called a caldera. You see, because Kilauea has a series of underground vents that connect to the same hotspot, when it erupts, instead of producing an explosive eruption like Mount St. Helens that makes a bomb-like mushroom cloud, Kilauea's eruptions are relatively gentle. The best way to think of this is to imagine a bucket with holes. Every time you fill up the bucket, the water drains out from the holes. The same is true for Kilauea, as most of its lava drains out through its many vents and fissures. However, at times there's enough pressure built up for Kilauea to produce a most astonishing lava fountain display by shooting jets of lava high into the sky. In 1959, one of the vents of Kilauea, called Kilauea Iki, violently erupted. For 5 weeks, millions of tons of lava spewed out of the earth and created a lava fountain that reached up to 1,900 feet. That's 600 meters high, taller than even the tallest buildings in the U.S.
That's crazy.
After the lava fountain stopped, a lava lake was created. Eventually, this lava lake drained back into the underground magma reservoir through the cracks in the crater. One of the highlights of our tour today is to actually hike down into the Kilauea Iki crater, where this lava lake once was.
Okay.
In 1969, another vent of Kilauea called Mauna Ulu erupted, and over the course of the next 5 years, spewed tons of lava, like a waterfall into nearby craters, before eventually draining into the ocean. Much of the lava fields you'll see at the national park today is, in fact, from the Mauna Ulu eruption. But if you thought that was it from Kilauea and Pele's lava, well, think again. Less than 10 years later, in 1983, another vent called Pu'uo'o started erupting and hasn't stopped in the last 30 years. And last but not least, in May 2018, Kilauea began erupting near the island's eastern edge, and along with it came hundreds of mini earthquakes. Unlike previous eruptions, these powerful earthquakes opened up new lava vents, causing unpredictable lava flows that entered into residential areas. Thousands of people were forced to evacuate, and by the end, up to 700 homes were destroyed. But luckily, not a single person was killed.
Damn.
In the end, the lava flowing into the ocean created about 200 acres of new land. Kilauea is not only the most active volcano on the Big Island, but the entire planet. For visitors, this lava flow is exciting and fun to see. But for the locals of the Big Island, it's something to both be respected and feared. The good news is that over the years, all these eruptions have increased the size of the island by about 568 acres and counting. The bad news is that it's destroyed over 200 homes in many communities. Needless to say, many people in the Big Island have volcano insurance. And I'm not joking.
It's probably one of the reasons why the other one's been dormant for so long as this one has been open.
Yeah.
Just allow it. It's like that.
Relieving pressure.
Yeah. Every time any pressure gets built up underneath this island in particular, it probably leaks out this spot.
Now, after so many exciting stories about volcano eruptions, you probably can't wait to see some live lava action.
When you have a headache.
Well, depending on conditions, you may or may not be able to see a molten red lava flow. Check with the park rangers at the visitor center once we get there. They'll be able to tell you the latest conditions. Regardless of whether you can see...
Ah!
You ruined it! That was the part where they were going to explain how...
Now, after so many exciting stories about volcano eruptions, you probably can't wait to see some live lava action. Well, depending on conditions, you may or may not be able to see a molten red lava flow. Check with the park rangers at the visitor center once we get there. They'll be able to tell you the latest conditions.
I don't think there's any.
Regardless of whether you can see red lava or not, you are for sure going to see a lot of black lava. The kind that's already cooled and hardened. Hey, it's true that it may not be quite as exciting, but the black lava still holds many surprises for you today. There are two major types of black lava to keep an eye out for while you're at the park. They are Pahoehoe and A'a. Pahoehoe lava erupts at an extremely high temperature, about 2200 degrees Fahrenheit or 1200 degrees Celsius, and flows fast like a river down the mountains, sometimes reaching speeds as high as 30 miles an hour. When Pahoehoe dries, it looks shiny and smooth and kind of ropey. A large field of Pahoehoe lava kind of looks like a giant pan of brownies. Yum. You'll recognize it once you're in the park, and I'll point it out to you as well. The other type of lava, A'a, on the other hand, is much cooler and moves a lot slower, and in one large mass like a bulldozer pushing down everything in its way. A'a lava has a rough, sharp, and jagged surface. It might help you remember its name. Just think of the sound you make when you walk on this jagged lava without any shoes on. So let's keep an eye out for the different types of lava during our drive today. As a side note, removing any kind of lava rock from the national park is a federal violation and will incur the wrath of Madam Pele.
Don't fuck with that.
And the park rangers, too. Lava update. The latest flow that started in May of 2018 destroyed up to 700 homes. After 5 months, it finally stalled and hardened, leaving an incredible path of destruction. The eruption seems to be over, but no one is completely sure that it won't start up again. This lava activity has caused hundreds of thousands of mini earthquakes that have damaged roads and even some buildings inside Volcanoes National Park. They're being repaired and eventually will reopen for visitors. This lava activity has drained large volumes of lava out of the Halemaumau crater. And as a result, the red glow of the lava is not as visible as it used to be. So I know you came here to, kind of look at the red molten lava, but just be prepared. You may not see it today. But hey, who knows? Conditions can change at any time according to Pele's mood. So, check with the park ranger once you arrive.
How are you feeling about coronavirus, Pele?
Nonetheless, We got a bunch of fun stuff to do and see
I'm
during
definitely
our
not
time
going to
at
do
the park.
anything about that.
Now don't worry, we're gonna have a ton of fun. I promise.
Yay! Promise.
I feel like she said that, actually. I feel like I heard it. I'm definitely not going to cause any red fire over that shit.
Funny is, he just said that there was no flowing lava. He's like, but you know, maybe you'll get lucky and the fucking volcano will blow up while you're looking at it. Very dry sense of humor, Mr. Tour Guide. Trying to get the howley killed. He's on a great sand beach.
Alright, we're gonna take a detour up ahead to see the lava trees.
Yes, we are.
It's a short loop drive off the main highway. It won't take very long, and it's an interesting phenomenon. To visit the lava trees, turn left ahead on Mauna Loa Road. Again, you want to turn left just about now. Otherwise, continue driving to the national park.
Kind of snuck up on us there.
Bird Park.
Turn right now on Tree Mold Road for the short loop of the lava trees.
Okay. It does smell like sulfur.
Lava trees form when fast-flowing lava moves through a forest and completely surrounds the moist trees. The trees burn up on the inside as the lava cools on the outside, resulting in a lava shell left in the shape of the tree. Some of these lava tree molds reach several feet high, but others are just stumps and some are just holes in the ground. Sometimes lava trees will even preserve the texture of the original bark of the tree. That's pretty trippy, believe me. Wouldn't you think that a tree would just burst into flames when touched by hot lava? Well, apparently not every tree will be preserved as a tree mold. Conditions have to be just right. For example, a tree has to be damp and cool.
What?
Similar to what it might be if it was just after a rain, for example. When hot lava surrounds a tree like this, the lava clings to the tree until the tree bakes into charcoal. Then the lava hardens around it as the tree inside melts away. Those holes in the ground form when the lava hardens around the trunk, which burns up. At the tree molds detour, you'll see guardrails blocking off massive holes where big trees once stood. These big tree molds aren't as big as those at Lava Tree State Park in Puna. But because of the recent eruptions, that state park is no longer accessible to the public right now. So, enjoy this one, okay?
Like that.
There's one right there.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's deep. It's like all the way down as far as the roots go. How deep it goes. Like all the way into the ground.
Yeah, far.
Just be walking and falling, I think.
That is so one of those moments on a Tim and Finn video where it would be like, you're not going to show us what you're talking about?
Nope. It's a big hole in the ground with that looks like tree roots. Were there at one point.
Pretty crazy.
This is a relatively easy hike through what we call a kipuka, or an oasis of old-growth forest which is surrounded by more recent lava flows from Mauna Loa. This 1.2-mile loop trail hike is a hotspot of biological diversity, with rare native birds like the elepaio, the scarlet-colored apapane, yellow amakihi, or even the less common iiwi birds, which you'll know from its huge, curved red beak. There might also be the native kamehameha butterflies amongst the koa and ohia trees. The National Park Service has produced a really good leaflet called the Kipuka Pualu Trail Guide, and you can download it from their website. You can find their website in the app under Highlights.
I think the trailhead's about a minute.
The volcano area is known for sudden rain showers, and at other times it can be hot and windy, so it's best if you have a hat, some sunscreen, some water, and a little rain gear as well. In other words, pretty much be ready for anything. Go with the flow, as we say here in the islands, huh? This loop hike should only take about 30 minutes. The trail starts at the Kipuka Puaulu parking area. It's a dirt track with slight inclines and declines. Bikes, dogs, and horses are not allowed on the trail.
Do you have the deaf then?
If needed, you can even find pit toilets at the picnic area nearby.
Spray my hands for the coronavirus. Spray my
Drop the bag, bucket,
Spray
parking
my
spot.
feet for the ohias. Spray my hands for me.
Spray your husband.
While he holds the phone.
Got a game trail here. There's some pigs.
What the fuck was that?
What'd you see, babe?
I don't know. Something that jumped. Do you see this little bug? That's called a koa bug. Do you see it on the little... That's a koa bug.
Oh, there he goes. See you later, Cohen.
tree, so it doesn't have that defense.
Oh, so it doesn't have to
It doesn't
defend
hurt you.
itself?
Yeah.
So it's a stinging nettle without the stinging?
Yeah.
What's up, nettle? Fucking terrible joke, sorry.
Makes your mouth tingle. How little they are, and they're probably so old.
And away we go some more. Put your finger up here to size that thing.
So cool.
Lollipop Guild. You see the leaves blowing down there by that cave entrance. There's actually a cold breeze coming up from the ground right here. That is pretty crazy. Like right here's a little pathway up to where the walkway is. Little opening here into the earth. And it's like a pretty good breeze. It's like
Feels great.
a steady flow coming out of there. It's really
It
cool.
shows you how much is going on underneath us at all times
Right.
that we just are not aware of at all.
For real. You see in the video, you can see all the leaves at the top are not moving, and all the leaves down by the entrance of that cave are moving towards us. So the air is coming out of the cave. Feels really nice.
It does.
What's up, everybody? We're here on the southeast side of the Big Island and Volcano National Park, and I just want to talk to you guys real quick about the trees in here. This part of the hike is one of the most diverse places in the Hawaiian Islands as far as the multiple styles and species of trees. But I want to talk to you guys about the importance of staying on the path that's carved out. You know, some of these spots in here you want to go in and get a good selfie or whatever. But something you got to think about on these islands, what's happening with the ecology of the forest in here is, in order to punch through what is the armor of volcanic rock, you need to break through it to get roots into the ground. So like these big trees like this would be like trying to stab a 2x4 through some iron breastplate or something. Whereas these skinny ones here are like an arrow. But you don't realize these skinny ones are actually like between 400 and 500 years old. The ohia tree, they're the first one that can break through the volcanic rock. And so if you're trying to just get back there, take a picture, and you're bending them out of the way or stepping on them, they'll break really easy. But that's 400 years of the earth trying to recreate a forest here in what was dead a couple of 100 years ago. So just think about it when you're getting off the path. See the raspberries out here, and there's no animals that are eating them, so they don't have to protect themselves. They have no thorns, and they can grow the size of a golf ball.
That'd be so delicious.
Dude, I want to find raspberries so bad. Where are they?
I don't know.
You know, all these freaking goddamn howlies are stealing all my raspberries. What are we looking at right here, babe?
Oh, ferns. Fern trees. Giant fern trees. And new stalks.
Yeah, the new stalks come out like these. They spiral out of the earth. See, this one here is taken off. It's got so many new spirals. What'd you say?
I can't say it. I said you were right.
Say it.
I can't. It hurts my throat.
She tried to say I was right about something, and she literally choked and almost threw up on herself. It was pretty funny.
Natural reaction.
Even the second and third time she tried it, she sounded like she had what's that? The virus, Corona.
The wood makes for a good surfboard, it says.
Make a big old long surfboard out of that guy. Big old chunks of mushroom growing out the side of these things.
Amazing. That's a mud spot. This is a preschool song.
What?
Can't go under it. Can't go over it. Have to walk through it. I wonder how long it's gonna happen.
Look, there's a giant tree that fell in the middle of our road.
Oh no, the road curve.
Wow. Well, we'll still use that part of the video. That thing is like the size of a basketball. You hear this giant fern tree fell over at some point, and then it just restarted. It's supposed to be one of the most diverse spots in America for birds, but we have not actually seen any. We've heard a bunch. You can hear all of them. Right when I said that, they all go away. So at the beginning and end of all the trails, you'll see little stations set up just like this. They got a little foot cleaner right there for your shoes. Up here, they got all kinds of little sprays to kill all the bacterias and fungus, and a little plaque to explain everything and how important it is not to spread. So just pay attention. What up, little fella?